Hello everyone, I've got a new microphone and I expect my audio levels to be all over the place, but hey, what else is new? We are here today doing something I haven't done in a little while. We're going to do another episode of the GameMaker Surgery. This is a show where you, if you are brave enough, of the many people who want to seek my help in the various comment sections, to actually just send me your project files and are willing to have your work kind of showcased as part of something that can maybe help other people. You can send in your project and an issue you're having in GameMaker, and I will actually try and actually fix it in a video. Today we've got a project from Casey, who says, "Hello Sean, I'm Casey, I've got a little problem in my game and I haven't many ideas as to how to fix it. The biggest issue I have is on the last level, the test hallway, where whenever I try and use the claw to pick up one liftable object, it instead goes for the other one. What's even stranger is that it doesn't work the other way. Also, please ignore level 7 pipes. It's an embarrassment." I don't need to know this. If you could go in and see what the problem is, I'd be very grateful. I believe the problem mainly lies in the O claw events, P liftable events activate. This is good, like if you've done a bit of looking around and you think you know kind of like a vague idea of where the problem is. This 1 shows me that you've tried, and 2 gives me like an idea of where to look. So you take notes for anyone else who wants to submit this kind of thing. The more like context explanation, the better, right? I should also mention I haven't yet to implement full controls yet, and they're unintuitive, so I've provided a helpful list for my reference, and it lists the controls underneath. So yeah, I'm just going to jump into the project and we'll see what we can find. First of all, the problem with this submission is I'm not 100% sure what the problem is yet, so I'm going to have to actually see it in the game. Okay, so in the email they said, Casey said the problem was in the test hallway. So I guess what I want to do is just get there right away. Hopefully I don't break anything like unlocks wise or whatever. If I just sort of shift this like maybe all the way to the top, maybe we can just start there. We'll just start there because I don't want to have to like play through the whole game to get to whatever the issue is, just to like understand what it is. It looks like we pick up a whole bunch of like different weapons, but now I don't know how they work is the problem. Guess, oh okay, that's a cool gun. I like that. Oh, the smoke trail? That's dope. Yeah, this is sick. But it sounds like the problem is only in here. So like, what is C? Alright, I'm pressing C. Do I need to like hold C? We've got like a morph ball mode. Lift objects only with claw. Maybe I don't have the claw. I'm guessing it's that orange one, because that's the only one I can't seem to like use in any way. I mean, I know they said that's the thing that isn't working, but they suggested that instead of it grabbing one object, it grabbed another object. It's highlighting them. Like, you can see, like, it's like the ring is coming up. Gadget objects, claw. Oh, the claw is the... Okay, so I mean, these are all, like, objects that, like, follow the player around, I see. But now I've got to kind of, like, step through the code and, like, work out exactly, like, what you're trying to achieve. Or, well, not even so much what I know what you're trying to achieve, kind of, but like what your code is actually achieving in order to work out what the problem is. So the hand position code is here, x equals that. So that's just like at the beginning of the frame, we like move to where the player is, and that all seems to work. We see that in the game, like it just sort of hangs out. State. But here is, okay, this is grab objects code itself. The problem is there's so many other things in the project that like could be doing stuff as well, that it doesn't necessarily mean that whatever we see here is like definitely going to be it, you know? First of all, it selects every liftable object and sets C target to false, whatever that is. We'll bear that in mind. Then we check to see if the player is close enough to pick up the thing, pick up a thing. If distance to object closest object, which is the nearest instance to the player of P liftable. Okay, so if the closest thing, so we go through all of the things and we find whichever one is closest, and then we take the closest one and we say if the distance from the edge of our bounding box of O claw specifically, which I assume has a bounding box, is less than whatever range is. Range is 50. So within 50 pixels to the closest thing, can grab becomes true. Closest object dot C target equals true. So then all of these have been set to false, but one in particular, if we are close enough to it, should be set to true. Should have C target true. So the pickupable object itself gets this thing that makes it true. So if canGrab is true, because we've got that object within range, and that particular item is the grabbable target, and key claw, which means we have pressed C this frame, and place meeting mouse X. Okay, so you've also got to hover the mouse over it. I didn't realize this. Maybe that's what I was doing wrong. See, no, okay, it still doesn't do anything at all. There's a note from, so I was trying to turn this into a toggle thing. All right, activate liftable. Right, that's like the function name from the ARPG. Closest object dot ID dot held equals true. Okay, so I mean, you've already got the instance ID here, in theory. So I don't know why you're then getting the ID of the that's generally not how it works. You just want to set held to be true in theory. Maybe that's just something left over from a fix you've tried to apply. But let's just change that and see what happens, because one thing if I'm gonna change anything, you want to change one thing at a time, ideally, and see if it changes anything. So then, okay, so we come over here, we hover a mouse over these things, we press C, still not doing anything. So closest object dot held is true. canGrab becomes false for whatever reason. I'm not really even sure what the canGrab, maybe it's to do with drawing that circle and things, I'm not sure. If key underscore claw and closest object dot held equals true and canGrab equals false. I mean, we already know in this if statement that key claw is true, because you've got a whole bunch of ands here, right? Key claw is already true by the time we get to here. So this is a redundant check. It's not going to become untrue by the time you get to this point. It became true here when or false when we look to see the key press. By the time we get to here, we check, see if key claw is true, and if it is, we come into here. We know that if we are in this block of code, key claw must be true, right? So I'm not sure what this is. Oh, is this trying to drop the object? Is that what's going on here? So this makes it held, but then because all of this is true, it then sets it all back to false. I mean, this is not the issue they described having, so I don't know if I've received this in a state whereby you're drying stuff, and now it's just a bit weird. But let's just see what happens if I comment out this section, because I don't even know what the logic is for grabbing, and I haven't seen a thing how it follows a thing or anything yet. So we just want to set the thing to be held, and we'll worry about dropping a thing later. But it wouldn't make sense to put that there anyway. Let's just take a look. Okay, so now we've got a thing, and we can carry that around. And if I start it again, and I look at the blue object this time. Okay, yeah, okay. So again, it's we have to we can even pick them both up or whatever, right? And I guess what you're after is the ability to pick up one at a time or whatever, right? And if you want to pick up the other one, it swaps it or something like that. So what you've got here at the moment is code that checks all your various conditions to see if you can pick up a thing, picks the thing up, which seems to work however you've written it, right? It carries it along with you and moves it to wherever the grab object is. So I'm not too worried about that right now. But then immediately in that check, you check to see if the key is being pressed, which we know it already is. We check to see if the object is being held, which we know it is. And we check to see if canGrab is false, which we know it is. We check three statements which we know are true immediately, and then drop the object again. So what's happening is you're picking the thing up and dropping it before even finishing the frame, so you never even see it picked up. So this kind of thing, I mean, it might seem like a silly problem, but it's actually really common with beginners, trying to work out just how sequential code kind of works, not understanding exactly when each piece of code happens. But the way that works, to sort of give a quick explanation, is every line happens one after the next, and all of this stuff has to happen before a frame gets drawn to the screen, before your entire game screen image for that moment, that 1/60th of a second at 60 FPS gets drawn. We do all of this in sequence. So that's why you don't even see anything happen there, because it runs the code, picks up the thing, and then immediately puts down the thing. And I think what you thought you were maybe doing here was writing the logic to say, oh, and then if we press the key again later, put the thing down, because this is after this. So you're thinking, oh right, so after we've picked something up, if we press the key again later, put it down, but it's checking it immediately that frame, So what is the logic we need, right, in order to pick this thing up? Well, let's think about that. We need to, first of all, the most important thing, and it's actually checked quite late in this logic, right, is are we pressing the C key? I mean, I know we get it up here, but like it only becomes relevant way down in here, when actually it's the first thing we should be asking. Are we pressing the grab key? Because that's like relevant in all cases. That tells us if we want to drop something, if we want to pick something up, and if we're not pressing it, we don't do anything at all, right? So that's the very first check we write. So I'll just write something. I'll write a new sort of piece here that we'll use. So if key claw. All right, that's like our first check. We want to know if we pressed that key this frame. Then what we want to know is, are we currently holding something? We don't actually have a way to properly know that right now, as far as I can tell. You did have like global I lifted. That might be something from like the RPG. You might have done something like that before, but I don't see a variable there for this, so I'm just going to add one. We'll just have like holding something, or I don't know, something grab equals false or whatever. More effectively, you can also have that actually be the ID of the thing you're holding, or all kinds of things you could do. But for now, we need to just know if we've grabbed something, right? So if something grabbed equals false, because we'll check that, we'll do that first, because if we're not currently grabbing something, then we can pick something up, right? And we already know the conditions for picking something for picking something up, right? If we're able to grab, as whatever conditions you've set up here based on just being in ranged is true, and we have that ID that's got a target about it, which is true. The thing I worry about with this though is it's gonna the thing above you that you're carrying then is going to be the closest one. So using this distance to object thing, it's like it's always going to return the one you're currently holding. Although that won't matter if you're not currently holding anything, I suppose, but we'll run with it for now. So I'm just going to copy this. We don't actually need the key claw because we've already checked that there, and I don't know, the mouse just seems like an extra step to me. You can put it back in if you really like that, but I don't know, just make it simpler. You're already checking to see if you're within 50. Why make the player hover a mouse over it, just grab the closest. You're already finding which is the closest, so let's just go with whatever the closest is. So we can check to see if can grab is true and closest object C target is true. All right, so like we know we're able to grab something and we've got an object that has a target, because otherwise they're all false, right? It seems like this thing works here where we just set held to be true and then can grab to be false and whatever. We'll do that here instead. This feels a little redundant, but it's whatever. I don't think it'll cause too many problems. And that'll allow us to grab something. Or we also then want to set something grabbed to be true, right? So that then the next time we come around into a step and we check to see if we pressed the key or not. If we have pressed the key, we know that actually we're currently holding something, so we don't want to pick something new up. And then, like, very simply, what we can do, and obviously is, depending on what you want, you might want to expand on this further, is we can just say else. So assuming something grabbed is true when we press this button, we just want to drop whatever it was. Now, we haven't amazingly kept track of which thing it was that was kept, but we can just sort of do what you did up here earlier and say with p liftable held equals false, and then also obviously put something grabbed back to false, which will then allow us to actually pick up something new again. Now I think in theory that it should just kind of work. So we'll just sort of give that a try and see what's changed. I don't know, there might be other stuff we've not thought about here. So see, we grab that, and then we press C, and it drops it. Obviously, I don't know, it depends what your physics are. Like this thing just it'll just freeze wherever it is, right? But that's allows us to pick something up, and if we're already holding something, we'll drop it. If I get close enough to this that becomes a new target, it's actually fine, because when we press C, it doesn't it's not going to try and pick up something new, because the first piece of logic it's going to run is like, are we already holding something? And we are already holding something. So it puts the thing down, and then we'll press it again, and it'll pick up the closest thing next, right? Now, obviously there's more that can go into this, like, you might want to swap the object rather than just put it down. There's all kinds of ways you can write it. But hopefully the point I wanted to get to with here is not so much like, oh, here's the code that can accomplish this thing, but there's the logic that you need to construct in your head that will allow you to write the code to do this thing, okay? We needed to check if the button was being pressed. We needed to check if we were already holding something. If we are already holding something, we drop it. And if we're not already holding something, we grab the closest thing, assuming there is a thing that qualifies. And depending what you want to do, beyond that, you just want to construct that logic in the same way, and then that will allow you to very easily create like a simple like if-else chain that will allow you to create those kind of simple mechanics. All right, I hope that helped. I know code is very difficult, like when you're getting started and understanding like the sequential nature of these kind of things. But if you practice, I promise you, it gets easier. You come to understand it. Your brain gets the idea of how it all works, and these things get easier over time. And you build a toolkit, and you remember how you did things before, and you can apply it going forwards. It's cool to see you like try to mix and match some of the stuff from my tutorials. I hope you're learning a lot from it. And big props to you, Casey, for sending in this submission, being willing to just have your learning process exposed to the world. Mad respect to you. If like Casey, you also have a problem that you've run into, you've been bashing your head against, trying to solve, and you just can't seem to do it, feel free to make a submission to the GameMaker surgery. The form will be linked in the description below. But honestly, your odds are pretty good, because I don't get many submissions. I kind of called you all's bluff on this when you all have these problems that you want fixing, but the moment of oh, show my code, oh no, yeah, you're all cowards. But if you want that free help, then I got to get something for it. I got to get some content out of you, right? So trade offer on the table. Anyway, let me know what you think. I hope this helped you guys. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all my patrons for everything they do to keep me doing what I'm doing. And of course, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Cheers, guys. Catch you all next time.